Hi everyone, welcome to A Fern Between Us, episode 89.
You were looking at two of the four owners of E89 Winery. My name's Jesse. This is Michelle.
And it's been a while since you've seen us.
It's been a second.
That's why we can't remember how to do this.
We didn't rehearse or anything.
Well, obviously,
as you can tell,
yeah, this
got it down pat.
Yeah, this is an unrehearsed show. In case you didn't already grasp that. So we have been missing. Hopefully, those of you that are super interactive with our page did get to read the blogs that were taking place and posting instead of the Fern. We got caught up in a little bit of a mess. I got COVID again. That was a real bummer.
Right after your fifth vaccination, too.
Yeah, I got my fifth shot, and then a week later?
2 weeks. I think you had 2 weeks, so it was like supposedly going to be in full effect right then, and then you got it again. Mm-hmm. It was a mild case compared, but
right. And
Denali and I did not get it living in the same house, so we kind of feel like.
I did get the Paxlovid, which did really help. In case anybody's wondering, if you have an autoimmune disease, highly recommend that you get on that. That made it go very quickly. Of course, we did have our best friend, who's a doctor, tell me that I still had to stay in quarantine in my bedroom. But we made it through that. And oddly, it reset some of the nuanced smell loss that I had been
This is
kind of
cool. Like, so yeah, you had lost a port, like you had some some holes in your olfactory or whatever, and those came back after getting reinfected with COVID.
How weird is that? So I worked really hard. So of course you guys heard all about my panic when I first lost my sense of smell for a few days, and then trying to resurrect it to the same level. It just, some of those really, really nuanced high points were elusive. And so I've been working on it, lots of sommelier, homework. And then all of a sudden getting it again, just the other day, I'm like, oh, Denali she put lipstick on in the car, and I'm sitting there smelling her, like, after she's already put it away, I thought, does your lipstick smell a little bit like cola? And she pulls it out and she smells it and she's like, yeah, actually it does. So that was one of the things, and then the nuanced smells of Jesse's sweat.
Yeehaw!
And he came home.
Lucky girl.
But for me, it's really exciting. He came home and I was like, oh, that's the smell of you having gone bicycling, and it smells different than when you go for a run. And so I'm very excited, but it's also very weird. Right. We also had Denali's show.
Yeah.
Which went incredibly well. It was fantastic. Her photography sold like crazy. So she's been really busy.
Thank you guys. Thank you everybody that helped.
Thank you so much. And gosh, what else? I think you guys have been hard at work getting new wines out, incling
Rosé.
Rosé of Sangiovese, one of everybody's favorites. It's back.
It's finally back as of today, so.
Cheers to that, right? Just in time for everybody's holiday meals, and
we were hoping to have it out, a few weeks ago, but it's really hard to get something in bottle, honestly, to have a wine go through and be stable and to be able to stay stable through all of the the trunks and the shipping and the refrigerators and the freezers and the
right?
It's really hard to make a wine like kind of stay. Nothing's ever like 100% stable. It is a living organism, but
yeah,
we try our best, and especially with the whites because it's so visible. And they're more finicky. They are less stable than a red wine. So, whites just take a while. Everyone's like, when's the Gruner coming? When's the Rosé coming? And Gruner's on its way. It's gonna be really, really, really soon.
the next few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe next week. But I don't want to promise. I don't want to promise anything ever before.
Well, and that's part of what's really great about, you and Chris have sealed a reputation for your winemaking because you don't rush it. And all the wines get the amount of time that they really need. And so you're not going to release it until you know that you're releasing a solid product. And that is really important. So,
and even then, it comes and kicks us in the butt sometimes. So what are you gonna do? I don't know.
All right, so we are actually gonna finish this and jump into the Pinot Noir and the Petit Verdot. We're gonna do the Pinot Noir first. Can you tell us a little bit about what you and Chris identify as what makes a great Pinot Noir? What are you emulating as winemakers?
I'm a fan of older world style.
That's a big glass, yo. You got to try this one too.
Oh crap! Now I have to drink a whole. All right, well, it is what it is.
Well, let me slam this, and I'll help you with that one.
I'm always looking for something older world. I don't think Pinot Noir is at its best when it's big and jammy. I love Pinot Noirs from Australia and Oregon and stuff like that, but I feel like they're getting, in my opinion, they're getting too much extraction, too much hang time. It's approaching Cabernet-ish styles or Zinfandel styles or something like that.
Well, and if you start talking about some of those Napa Pinot Noirs, it's even more so.
Yeah, to me, I'd much rather have it be leaner and kind of bricky and a little funky, like some kind of
those Central Otago Pinots are
amazing. Yeah. I'm not saying, when I say Australia, I'm definitely not talking about New Zealand. Yeah.
No.
Because New Zealand has some of the better
100%.
Some of the better Pinots in the world, and really unique, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. They're very different.
Right.
They're very different. Yeah. Funk, I always really associate with that very specific kind of funk from New Zealand, and I love those.
It's almost like a slightly stinky cheese thing that in a good Pinot that I just love. And here in New Mexico, sometimes we're able to get that going. And so far we've only ever had Pinot Noir grapes from down south that we've worked with personally. And it's always tricky. It's a really hard one to make stable, to see it through into the bottle as like a cohesive unit. And our last one was just impeccable. People were, floored over it. And I wish I could do that every time, but it's just sometimes the grapes aren't there for that or whatever. But I feel good about this one as well. And
how do you feel that they compare? I mean, vintage to vintage, it is different, and also as it ages, I think that's a unique thing too, because when it's first released versus when we sell out, it has developed in the bottle. It's come together, and so it is a different entity, and so then it's not really fair to compare it to a new vintage that's much younger, hasn't been in the bottle all that long. Yeah. That's a little rough, but I know that's one of the gifts that you and Chris have is that sight of the future, which is totally crazy. When, to pull it out of oak, when to bottle it, and what it's going to do as it ages. So
Pinot Noir is one of the wines that is most prominent with bottle shock as well. So this went into the bottle this summer. I think it was in July.
Do you want me to take some of that, or do you want me to pour my own?
Here, I'll give you a little, and we can always pour more if we need to. Okay, but this still has like some cola and awesomeness. So it's been in the bottle July, August, September, October, November. So like 4 or 5 months at this point, and it's just now kind of smoothing out, becoming. When we first bottled it, I was just like, man, it's just not last year's for sure, but it's coming along. I'm actually feeling really, really, really good about it. I like it. I feel like it's got some cola, some like kind of sassafrasy kind of stuff. I
actually think it smells a little bit like actual day after you had a fire in the fireplace coal.
Oh,
like actual
the coal itself, not the ash.
Yeah, like the coal itself, and not cola, which of course is a very different smell. But but it's like
that's kind of a brick. That's kind of like a baked brick.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's in the same family for sure. Baked earth, baked brick, hot brick, coals. All of these are in a similar family. Mm-hmm. But I find that very intriguing. It's also not 100% off from those gravelly things that we can get from Pinots, especially old world Pinots, where you can get that flinty slate.
Summer rain thing.
I'm salivating so bad just talking about it. Like, the rocks.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I'm super proud of this one. And on the grapes, I don't know if I should even say this, but
I think if you're not sure if you should say something, you probably shouldn't.
No, what
were you gonna share?
This is probably our last vintage from grapes down south, from Pinot Noir grapes from down south, because we've had so many problems amongst the wineries as a whole shipping the grapes up here. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't. It wants to be immediately. I mean, we do process them the second we get them, and we have them decently preserved and decently cool on the way up. But if they're picked a little bit, in the afternoon, say, rather than just in the morning, and the grapes have gotten slightly warmer and didn't have a chance to cool down enough, and
they're problematic.
They're problematic, and 2 or 3 of the wineries that were on our same shipment of grapes
couldn't salvage it.
Couldn't salvage it, and they ended up with just vinegar, and finally,
and that's an expensive.
And finally, Paolo was like,
mess.
"Listen, I'll just charge you guys for the harvest costs of these grapes, and then I'm sorry, I'm just not going to put Pinot Noir on that truck again, because you guys just have so many problems with it, and it just doesn't make it." So we were able to not have those problems, incredibly, but that was a big thing that went around last year, that and he's like, well, we've never had a grape that he's actually said, I'm not shipping it, but this is the first one.
Right.
And so we're going to be looking for a Pinot Noir from up here that can be harvested quickly and in time and all the stuff, but this may be our last for a long time, or maybe we'll find new vineyards. I don't know. But anyway, we're enjoying it while it's here.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad. Especially,
it's all right. There's a million grapes there, and they're all good, and they're all worth.
There's also a million different clones. Surely we can find one to plant in our 1725, which is expanding. Anybody that has driven by recently, thank you all for messaging us. Like, it has been amazing. It has been amazing. We love hearing from all of you. We love how thrilled you are to see the sea of grapes. That's been really fun.
We're also going to plant, not this spring, but next spring we're going to plant over here. I think the 1725 is already all spoken for what we're going to plant. But
unless we buy more.
Unless we end up with more land down there, which is, I guess, in theory, a possibility, but who knows?
Yeah. But over here, that's interesting.
But over here, it could be one of the grapes that we plant here, and we are actually looking.
And by over here, it is our house.
Right outside the door.
We are actually right next door to the winery facility. So a lot of people don't realize that the spot that you see at the Highway 68 and 75 junction is just a tasting room, and then our beautiful vineyard. But everything's made at the winery facility, which is 4 miles from that site, tucked away on private property. And so, we try to keep that a little off the beaten path. So
we don't have a sign up or anything.
Yeah.
Drivers are always like, delivery drivers are like, that semi comes up, there's no sign. Yeah, no, this is
on purpose, because we live here.
We don't want people just driving down the driveway every day.
Right?
What do you think?
Which is why you have to sign up for our picking parties every year, so that you get a private tour of this area. All right. So Petit Verdot is going to be next. And so it's one of our favorites from our 1725. Again, we are organically farming, even though it's not certified, but it's organically farmed property and has been one of the most sensational wines for us. Even James Suckling, who notoriously hates Petit Verdot, gave it a 91 on a previous vintage, which is like getting 100 from somebody that really hates a grape that already is outspoken about that. One of the things that I think is so spectacular about the Petit Verdot is that it shows nuances that usually it doesn't because of our high altitude. At 6,000 feet, we get all these amazing, fun, light red notes, red berry notes in the wine, rather than just those really dense, dark notes that the wine or the grape is usually associated with. And usually it's blended in for some of that structure and some florals, but
and color.
Yeah. But on its own here, it actually shows so beautifully with great acidity, and it's one of our most popular wines. It sells out so fast. So what is it that you guys attribute some of the success of deciding to plant a Petit Verdot? When, people weren't doing that when you first planted it too.
Everyone looked at us like we were totally nuts, and we didn't know. We were like, maybe we're nuts. I don't even know how to. I don't know why we think this is going to grow, but we did know why. We had a test plot vineyard down here with 17 different varietals, and that was one of the ones that survived the winters the best. And we were like, I know it's going to produce a decent wine. Like, it's one of the five noble reds.
Were you thinking that you were going to make a blend out of it, or were you always intending to do a varietal release?
I was just like with the plantings that I'm doing now. It's kind of a wait and see. Like, it's probably gonna have its own unique signature or profile that will be interesting, if nothing else. And if it's interesting enough to drink sometimes, then we'll be able to sell it as a varietal. If not, we will blend it with other stuff to expand other lots, or to have add an interest here and there, and we'll just search for the right place for it. But and that's all we were thinking with that. And we didn't actually plant that much. It was like a little over half an acre, and
it's grown over time because it's been so successful.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're actually putting in 1,000 vines of that this year. No, yeah, it'll be this coming spring. We're gonna put 1,000 more vines in. So then
it's December. It's already the next year.
We're not gonna run out of it, in theory, for a while, until you guys buy too much of it or whatever. But it's one of our favorite grapes that we're growing now, and we're super psyched about it. And it has a hard time getting ripe here, but it survives the winters. So there is such thing as a possibility, like, should we get a early frost or something like that, we may make a rosé out of it, or we could even, in theory, make a bubbly out of it once we have bubbly capabilities. Whenever that happens.
I want bubbly.
It's not going to be for another couple years, so don't get too excited. But that's if we can, and we still need room, and I don't know.
Whatever. Got my hopes up. All right. So, yeah, hold on. This is really difficult trying to keep up. Don't try this at home. This is for professionals, kids.
It's dangerous.
All right. In other news, just as a little sidebar where I try to catch up, my grandma did pass away, which is super, super sad. It was the Saturday right after Thanksgiving.
Grandma Cantelmo.
Amazing woman, and I'm wearing her squash blossom today, one of my favorite pieces of jewelry ever. it's been really interesting, just as a side note, for our family and everybody. We were anticipating, because she was older and was having some issues, but then she got damn COVID and it went so much faster. And that surprise is really, really hard. And
she was decent. She was decently Alzheimeric at the time, so
dementia
of some sort. Sorry, not Alzheimer's necessarily. But yeah, we were kind of expecting it, and I mean, hate to say hoping for it, but it was like she was miserable. It was getting towards time, but she ended up with COVID right at the end, and probably shortened it by who knows. I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. You never know.
She was a strong,
she wasn't going to let go easily.
Woman. She was not going to be taken down by anything. We honestly didn't think COVID was going to take her down either. But she really loved the wines that you and Chris make, and it's an interesting thing as you start to think over somebody's life, and especially around the holidays, she loved Christmas. And it kind of sets us all like one step closer, which is not a comforting feeling, right? The next ones that are teetering are our parents.
That was the last of our grandparents' generation between us, and so that kind of
it's been rough, but hopefully everybody can really think about those kind of things as you draw into a new holiday season. And I feel like we've got enough space from 2020, and we're all kind of like dazed and confused, like bumbling about, like, oh wait, the world is really continuing, but hopefully everybody gets together and can, have a cheers. All right, so
cheers to Grandma Catelmo real quick.
Yeah, to Grandma. I think she would have loved this wine, by the way. That's part of my sensory thing is going like a million miles a minute as I'm drinking this. It's so expressive, and I feel like the floral notes are I showed this in my florality class at AWS, the national conference, but I feel like as it's gotten older in the bottle, it is showing more and more of those, like, there's certain wines that are too floral and you're like, whoa, I don't want to drink a bottle of cologne or perfume, but this has just the right little elements, and then it has this great earthiness, a little spice on the end, excellent fruit. I really like both of these wines. Like, I think they're really beautiful.
It's like juicy.
100%. And I think this works really well to move into our questions that we'll try to speed up. Sorry, guys. These are great pairings for your holidays because you've got the lighter bodied Pinot Noir, and then you've got a fuller bodied Petit Verdot. They can handle a multitude of things.
Where are we at? We're on the 8th now, is that right?
Yeah.
You need to order like now if you want it by Christmas.
Oh, good point.
But if you're in town, you can come get it anytime.
Yeah. Yes. And I was going to save this to the end, but we are really pushing that you can send us your holiday meal menu, and I will pair it and send that back to you. This service is free of charge, but I can give you the best pairing options. So email me, Michelle, spelled with one L, Michele, at vivocwinery.com. All right, let's jump into questions. What are some of your holiday traditions at home and at the winery?
Ooh. Well, at home, the recent traditions is we've started in the last, 6 or 8 years, we've started doing some Hanukkah-ness.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which has been so super fun. Learning all about that and doing a bunch of those things.
And, you gotta love 23andMe. So
Surprise.
The funny thing is I've spent my entire life celebrating Hanukkah with my second family, the Schreibers, who I adore. And one of our favorite things to do is to spend the first night of Hanukkah when we can with Luke and Lindsay and those guys. Amazing people that are so kind to teach us the ways. But for us, because, we're not super religious people. So we like the traditions, we like the foods, we like all of those kind of things. So we do light a candle on the menorah and we get a little Hanukkah gift. And for us, that is a surprise bottle of wine. So I buy a collection of wine and then they're picked at random. So we never know exactly which one we're going to get which night kind of thing. And our daughter gets some kind of little fun thing and we celebrate and have great new foods and
making latkes and all that.
Challah bread. And for the winery, we always have our staff party in the December.
Sometimes catered, sometimes Chris and I will wamp it up.
Yeah, that's always fun. It's always interesting, and we try to make it a little different. We do a white elephant, which is, I love that. I think it's really fun, especially if you have a group of people that are similar interests. So, you set the limit and then just have fun with it. And sometimes those gifts are really wild.
We try to mix it up, sometimes here, sometimes there, ideally, but
yeah, sometimes at a
restaurant. Get stuck in a certain rut for a few years and then we'll move it and do something different sort of. And then, I don't know.
We used to do an ugly Christmas sweater party every year until COVID. And we haven't brought that back yet, but I don't know if we're going to try.
Maybe not this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. Personal stuff that I think is going to make that difficult. But and then our daughters always picked out a special bottle of wine for Santa every year. Santa always got a special bottle of wine and some extra chocolates. So that's our sister-in-law's beautiful truffles. Santa knows what he's doing at our house. I don't know what's happening at your house, but he's doing it right at ours. Makes wrapping last-minute presents and things a lot more fun, huh?
Right. You would think for Santa or
whatever. Whatever. I think that's kind of the gist of what we do. Tell us what you guys do. Send us pictures too. Pictures, so fun. Do you think a bottle of wine is too impersonal to give to someone as a gift? Isn't it more of a hostess gift? Hostess, not hostess.
It's not the most host. It's just a hostess. No, I think you can give a gift. It depends on the person. I mean, I don't know. Consumables, I think, are where it's at. Like it's better than a pair of gloves that they're not going to use. I don't know,
right? I mean, there is that. Like, if you're not sure about something,
but they drink wine, that's probably the best. One of the better things you can give them. I mean, somebody who likes to eat, get them some food samplings. If they like to drink, get them some of their favorite alcohols.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like that's a great gift. I don't think it's impersonal, and especially if you happen to know, like, they went to Germany or they were stationed in Germany, and get them a bottle of, whatever it is from over there that they might remember or whatever. And
that's a good point.
If you can personalize it slightly, that'd be amazing. But even if not, it's still good.
I also think that that's where you get into nuances. Like, if you have a great wine shop where you can find something unique, it doesn't have to break the bank either. Unique doesn't mean you spend a fortune. It just means maybe something out of the ordinary. You're not going to get a California Cabernet or, something along those lines where, like you were talking about, maybe a dry Riesling from Germany or something where it shows you thought about that person and their experiences. That's very intimate to me. I think that's really wonderful.
Right.
And also, yes, you should always bring something to a dinner or a party. a bottle of wine, even if you're going to be the one that drinks it, because your host also wants that. So you can tell them, this is a gift for you. It's something special if it is. Or you can just bring it for the party because you know that nobody else likes your weird...
whatever wine fetish.
Yeah, pinon flavored wine or whatever. Right. Sorry. Karen got in the way. So I think it's one of the best gifts, but hopefully that helped. Looking back over 2022, what has been a highlight? We've had so much happening over 2022. Oh my God.
For me, it would be the week in Amsterdam before we got COVID. But definitely not the second or the third week in Amsterdam when we had COVID. That was just the worst.
But man, I loved Amsterdam in every way. It was so fantastic, and it smelled so good.
Yeah.
Bali was difficult for me for the smells. It was challenging, but also really lovely and wonderful. And I know I've said just terrible things, and I don't mean that. The people were phenomenal. Food was fantastic. It was every beautiful thing that you ever think it's going to look like. It did look like that.
The monkeys in Bali were my favorite too. I mean, not the mean ones, not the scariness of it, but also the excitingness and the funness. I don't know. Monkeys in Bali and my first week in Amsterdam. Those are my two highlights.
We also had the amazing event promoting New Mexico wines at the American Consul General's personal home in Strasbourg. That was very exciting. That was definitely one of my top experiences. Scared the shit out of me, actually. I tend to get a little nerves before I perform, and that was a big one. I was, having like issues. I don't know that I can talk to all these dignitaries. I'm scared. It was fantastic. We had Denali's show. That was a huge highlight. It's cool. Her senior year. She already finished all her finals like several weeks before everybody else. She's just brilliant and an amazing person, and I can't believe she's gonna graduate. It's terrible. Poor mommy.
All right, wrap this up, baby. What else you got?
We also got the Local Heroes Award for doing awesome things in the New Mexico food and beverage industry, which is super impressive and exciting.
Got to meet some cool people out there.
Super cool people.
It was awesome.
All right. What are the best wines for Christmas dinner and why? Well, clearly these two.
Obviously these two. Also the Nebbiolo Rosé.
Oh, yes.
To me, anything a little, it's only really eliminates like Cabernet and the like to me.
I also think people like to bring often something very special, and sometimes those big, bold wines.
Yeah.
And I think that those can really work. I think it's...
they're great for before and after, but not as much with most of the traditional meals.
What I think that people need to get more comfortable with, if I can give you some advice, is I think that we need to share menus more. Please join us for a lovely evening celebrating whatever holiday you're into. And this is what I'm planning on making, so that people can
just at least more or less.
Not like a whole
we're gonna have a
detailed thing, but
we're gonna cook a Christmas goose. Okay, great, good to know. All right, cool.
Goose. Okay, great. Now you can go to your local store and say, okay, we're gonna be having goose. Or you plan, are you bringing an appetizer? Maybe you're bringing a cheese plate. We'll bring something that's going to go with the cheese plate. Instead of just like kind of willy-nilly, like this is an expensive bottle of wine. Well, maybe you don't need to break out the most expensive bottle of wine that you've been holding on to, but actually kind of try to pair it.
Do it slightly appropriately.
And I can help you.
And Michelle can help you.
So
even if it's not just ours, like
yeah.
she'll help you on. You say, hey, I've got a cellar full of stuff. I've got a Piedmont. I've got a Brunello. I've got a whatever it is, you know.
Exactly. And our services are to make sure that you have a successful event. And of course, we want you to buy our wine, but we want you to have a wonderful experience with any wine. So,
right.
Well, we're actually doing pretty good.
Hey.
Yeah, look at us. So,
are we good? No, we're not done.
I was wrapping up.
Oh,
wrapping
okay,
up.
cool.
All right, so next week we are going to talk about the party wines, right? So if you're going to have a big group of people over, what wines work for that, and buying them from your grocery store or your wine shop, how to make sure that you have crowd pleasers and have a successful event. So we're going to go over that next week. And as always, every time you buy a bottle, you plant a tree with us, because we partnered with Eden Reforestation Projects. So I
think we're 2 years now.
Are we now 2 years?
Something like that.
So we've got almost 60,000 trees that have been planted. And those also create jobs. Look at what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job by buying our wine. See? Making a difference. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Happy holidays, guys.